Many boys, especially those belonging to the Evil Sons clan, are addicted to speed. Being orcs, they are also addicted to smashing in heads and ride to war in lightweight vehicles so that they can get to grips with the enemy as quickly as possible. Trucks are built primarily for speed and usually have little in the way of armor plating. A direct hit upon a truck can cause it to come apart in a clattering, cartwheeling pile of burning wreckage. Still, because trucks are so light, it is easy to bail out when they crash, and it is just as likely that incoming fire will merely smash apart some ablative what's-it that the driver only hammered into place so he could keep an eye on it. Because orcs are so haphazardly inventive, no two trucks ever look the same, though they typically have a large, loud engine and a flatbed enclosure. The vehicle's cab sometimes has a horned skull or jagged plate attached to it, a throwback to the old orc practice of decorating their mounts with trophies. A truck is also fitted with rails and runners so that even the smallest vehicle can transport a mob of burly boys to the front line. Battlewagon is a catch-all term used by orcs to describe their tanks and heavy armoured transports. No two battlewagons are ever precisely the same. However, most share certain distinguishing features that mean they fall broadly into one of a number of crude patterns of battlewagon that the orcs deploy to smash through the enemy lines, blast the foe to bits, and otherwise generally unleash mayhem. The iron fists of the orc warbands, battlewagons fulfill many roles, but first amongst them is grinding the enemy into the ground. They are massive metal beasts that prowl through the greenskin hordes on great clanking treads. Some are mobile fortresses, packed to the gunwales with orc warriors. Others bristle with ordnance and heavy weaponry. Battlewagons are always large, heavily built and prestigious. These steel monsters belong to the most important and wealthy orcs. It is a rare warboss indeed who does not own a battlewagon or two, held at the ready for those occasions when he expects to encounter serious resistance or just fancies driving around his encampment, feeling important and shouting insults and orders at his underlings. The battlewagon is very sturdily armoured at its front, because that is the part the greenskins intend to ram into the enemy. These vehicles are often styled after the great beasts the orcs used to hunt in the wild, and frequently have an appropriate skull totem attached to their front. The orcs are convinced that this will make the vehicle fiercer and more effective in battle. Though battlewagons vary tremendously in style, most are built with a certain battlefield role in mind. The mechs who build them delight in giving them grand and aggressive names, and either through some quirk of racial memory or simply because orcs are not all that original, the most effective and widespread of these turn up time and time again in tribes all across the galaxy. Assault vehicles such as the Gore Speeder, the Gutripper and the Wheels of Gork are the most common types of battlewagons. Such contraptions are especially popular with the Evil Sons and Goth clans, though of course they find use amongst nearly all orc warbands to one extent or another. They are geared towards taking large numbers of greenskins to the front line in the quickest possible time. Many orcs think of these battlewagons as great metallic squiggoths, attaching sharpened tusks to the front and ensuring the vehicle growls gratifyingly when the engine is revved. The Bonebreaker epitomizes the popular subtype of battlewagon known as Crucias. This family of wagons also includes such terrifying assault vehicles as the Bone Crusher, the Spleen Ripper, and the Git Masher. The Bonebreaker combines armoured transport capabilities with an arsenal of heavy firepower and an enormous spiked death roller to create a versatile and enduringly popular orc assault vehicle. Often used to spearhead greenskin assaults, Bonebreakers lay down indiscriminate storms of fire from their lobbers and kill cannons as they close with the enemy. Shells scream down, forcing infantry to dive for cover and blowing ragged holes in armoured vehicles and fortifications, with each fresh explosion raising a raucous cheer from the Bonebreaker's crew. Yet it is when the Bonebreaker reaches the enemy lines that the real fun begins. As roaring orcs spill from its passenger compartment to charge into battle, the Bonebreaker rumbles right into the fight alongside them. Enemies vanish beneath the grinding spikes of the tank's death roller, with light vehicles, infantry and field artillery alike crushed to pulp. Bonebreakers plough red paths of ruin through the foe's lines, bursting from their rear covered in blood and viscera, the orc crews cackling maniacally. A lot of extra gubbins and power are required to keep the death roller turning. This can make Bonebreakers somewhat prone to breaking down, but most crews are savvy enough to take preventative measures, perhaps dragging a dedicated grot rigger on board to perform repairs mid-battle. Others reassure themselves by painting their vehicle with blue glyphs, hanging lucky Squig's feet in the driver's cabin, or feeding captive grots and snots into the tank's workings so as to keep their bone-breakers' belligerent beast spirit satisfied. Gun wagons forego a substantial portion of their transport capability in order to mount artillery batteries worth of big guns and many-barreled wonder weapons. Little more than armour-plated mobile arsenals, gun wagons advanced towards the enemy at a steady crawl, weapons hammering ceaselessly. Ensconced within their armoured cabins, the tank's spotters peer through custom looking tubes and telegubbins, calling out fresh targets to their gun crews with each passing moment. Explosions blossom amidst the enemy lines as the gun wagons maintain their bombardment, what their gunners lack in accuracy more than made up for in sheer weight of fire. The only real drawback to stuffing a wagon so full of ammunition and power cells is that, should the foe manage to inflict sufficient damage, it will detonate with jaw-dropping violence. Orks being orks, this is seen as less of a drawback and more as a golden opportunity to take a few of the gits with you by roaring into the enemy's midst before the gun wagon explodes. Orks have their own rough-and-ready approximations of the armoured formations fielded by other races. Known as blitz brigades, these spearheads consist of as many battle wagons as can be massed together, crammed full of jubilant orks and sent hurtling towards the enemy lines. With formation names such as Gork's Green Fist, Kilcrucia Brigade and Narmek's Treads of Death, blitz brigades are typically the pride and joy of the mechs who put them together and the war bosses who order them into battle, and as the greenskin tank formations rumble into the fight, it is easy to see why. Treads and wheels churn up sprays of mud and gore as they grind over the screaming foe. Primitive glyphs and ragged banners display their allegiance and proclaim the might of those orc leaders whose will they serve. Gothic rock and feral battle cries boom from their crude speakers, even as their guns thunder again and again. Howling mobs of orcs cling to their hulls and cram their troop compartments, the passengers' frenzied war chants rising to the war-torn skies. To see such a convoy of armour-clad death bearing down upon your lines is to know stark terror, which only redoubles as the Blitz Brigade ploughs through the fire levelled at it and slams into combat with a deafening crash. Blitz Brigades are especially popular with the militarily-minded Blood Axes and the speed-crazed Evil Sons, though of course every clan makes use of such formations, and even freebooter warbands can sometimes acquire enough wagons to roar into battle in style. Blitz brigades vary wildly in size, from a few battle wagons formed into an armoured fist to rumbling nomadic tank armies so vast that they raise fierce dust storms in their wake. "Faster!" bellowed Grasback, thumping his fist on the truck dashboard. "What's the matter, Zaggit? Can't find the pedal? Krug's lot are beating us, you useless grot fondler." Zaggit shot Grasback a manic look, eyes bulging behind his goggles, then stamped down with both feet on his oversized accelerator. The engine roared and the truck reared for a moment, the lads in the back shouting in excitement and alarm. Then its front wheels slammed back down and it surged forwards at breakneck speed. Bullets, shells and lasblasts whipped around the truck as it hurtled towards the Imperial lines. Krug's truck was still ahead of them, several of his lads laughing and gesticulating rudely out the back as they neared the enemy's position. Grasback howled in frustration, but the shout turned to one of surprise when Krug's truck vanished in a blinding white flash as a tank shell hit it square on. Zaggit cursed and swerved as bits of Krug's vehicle rained down around them, and Grasback laughed uproariously. "That's what you get for showing off, eh, Zaggit?" he roared. "Now get us in there and let's get stomping.